Vanishing inside the mystery that has America holding its breath. There's a doorbell camera video that's been playing on loop in FBI headquarters, in newsrooms across America, and probably in your social media feed. A figure dressed head to toe in black, face completely obscured by a ski mask, gloved hands reaching toward a camera, and then nothing. An 84-year-old woman gone, vanished from her own home in the early morning darkness. No ransom note, no clear motive, no body, just questions that multiply with each passing hour. This is the Nancy Guthrie case. And if you think you understand what's happening here, I promise you, the reality is far more complex and disturbing than the headlines suggest. Let me start with what we know for certain, because in a case like this, separating fact from speculation is crucial. Nancy Guthrie, 84 years old, disappeared from her Tucson, Arizona home on February 1st. She's the mother of Savannah Guthrie, the co-anchor of NBC's Today Show. That detail matters, not because celebrity makes this case more important than any other missing person case, but because it means this investigation has resources and attention that most disappearances never receive. The FBI is involved. The reward has climbed to $100,000. And yet, more than 2 weeks later, investigators are no closer to finding her. Think about that for a moment. With all the technology we have, with all the resources being poured into this case, with federal agents and local deputies and private security firms all working around the clock, an 84-year-old woman has simply vanished. How is that possible in 2026? The answer lies in the chilling efficiency of whoever took her. Because make no mistake, this wasn't random. This wasn't opportunistic. This was planned, methodical, and executed with a level of sophistication that has law enforcement genuinely concerned. Let's talk about that surveillance footage because it tells us so much about who we're dealing with. The suspect appears on Nancy Guthrie's doorbell camera in the early morning hours. He's between 5'9" and 5'10". Average build, completely covered. Black ski mask, black clothing. And here's where it gets interesting. He's wearing 2 pairs of gloves. Experts who've analyzed the footage believe he's got nitrile gloves pulled over another pair of gloves. That's not something you see in your average crime. That's someone who understands forensics, who knows about DNA evidence, who has thought through every possible way he might leave a trace. He's carrying a 25-liter Ozark Trail Hiker pack backpack. Black. The kind you can buy at Walmart. In fact, everything he's wearing was purchased at Walmart, according to Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos. The ski mask, the clothing, the backpack, all of it from Walmart, where millions of Americans shop every week, where surveillance footage gets recorded over, where paying cash leaves no trail. This wasn't high-end tactical gear that could be traced to a specialized retailer. This was everyday items that could have been purchased by anyone anywhere. And then there's what he's doing in that footage. He's tampering with the doorbell camera, not disabling it immediately, but interfering with it, maybe testing it, maybe marking the time, maybe sending a message. We don't know. But what we do know is that shortly after this figure appears on camera, Nancy Guthrie disappears. Now here's where the case takes a turn that should make your skin crawl. Investigators have found approximately 16 gloves in various areas near the house. 16. Most of them turned out to be from searchers who discarded them during the initial search efforts. But one glove is different. One glove was found in a field about 2 miles from Nancy Guthrie's home. And that glove has a DNA profile of an unknown male, and that glove appears to match the type worn by the subject in the surveillance video. The FBI packaged up that glove and sent it overnight to a private lab in Florida. They got preliminary results back on Saturday. They found male DNA, but here's the problem. It's an unknown profile. They're waiting for quality control and official confirmation before they can run it through CODIS, the FBI's national DNA database. That process takes about 24 hours. But what if the profile isn't in the database? What if this person has never been arrested before, never had their DNA collected, never left a trace in the system? Then you have a DNA profile that tells you you're looking for a male, but nothing else. It's evidence, yes, it's something concrete, absolutely, but it doesn't give you a name, it doesn't give you a face, it doesn't bring Nancy Guthrie home. Sheriff Nanos has been careful about managing expectations on the DNA results. He told reporters that depending on the urgency they place on any one item, results could take anywhere from 1 to 10 days. A glove found 2 miles from the scene gets more attention than one found 10 miles away. They're prioritizing certain submissions, but he won't say which ones or what results will come back first. That silence tells you something. It tells you they're playing their cards close, not wanting to tip off whoever they're looking for. On Friday, law enforcement executed a search warrant at a home about 2 miles from Nancy Guthrie's house. They detained 3 people, questioned them, and then released them. No arrests, no charges, and authorities won't say what, if anything, they found during that search. But retired Police Lieutenant Randy Sutton, speaking to Fox News, pointed out something crucial. Just because those 3 people were released doesn't mean they're in the clear. Sutton explained that if detectives believe someone might be involved but lack sufficient probable cause to make an arrest, they can pursue additional warrants. Wiretaps, surveillance of phones and devices, physical surveillance. They may have released those 3 people, knowing full well they're going to watch every move they make, monitor every call, track every digital footprint, or they may have completely cleared them. We don't know. And that uncertainty is part of the strategy. What we do know is that investigators are leaning away from Nancy Guthrie's relatives as potential suspects. NBC reported this, citing 2 law enforcement sources. That's significant because in cases like this, the first place investigators look is always at family members. Statistically, when someone goes missing, especially an elderly person, family is often involved. But in this case, authorities have apparently ruled that out, which means they're looking at something else entirely. So what are they looking at? What are the theories? Because here's where the case gets murky. Investigators have not classified this as a specific type of crime. Think about that. More than 2 weeks in, with all the evidence they've collected, they still can't tell us if this is a kidnapping, a burglary gone wrong, a targeted attack, or something else entirely. NBC reported that while there are a myriad of theories, authorities are not officially narrowing down the options. A local Arizona TV news reporter cited an alleged inside source claiming this was a burglary gone wrong and that investigators believe Nancy Guthrie is still alive. Sheriff Nano shut that down immediately. "Did not come from us," he told Fox News. "No idea, and even though that is one of many possibilities, we would never speculate such a thing." An FBI spokesperson echoed that, saying they have no clue where that report came from. A source speaking to Fox News said, "This is not the working theory inside the unit. So if it's not a burglary gone wrong, what is it? Let's think through the possibilities, because each one paints a very different picture. If this is a kidnapping for ransom, where's the ransom demand? It's been over 2 weeks. If someone wanted money, they would have made contact by now. The silence suggests either the kidnappers are extraordinarily patient or ransom isn't the motive. If this is personal, if someone had a grudge against Nancy Guthrie or wanted to hurt Savannah Guthrie through her mother, why take her? Why not leave a message? Why the elaborate precautions with the double gloves and the Walmart clothing? Personal revenge usually comes with a desire to take credit, to let the victim know who's responsible and why. If this is random, if Nancy Guthrie was simply in the wrong place at the wrong time, that might actually be the most terrifying possibility. Because it means there's someone out there who has the skill and planning to make an 84-year-old woman disappear without a trace, and who might do it again. But there's another theory that nobody's talking about openly, but that has to be on the table. What if this is connected to Savannah Guthrie's work? What if someone targeted Nancy Guthrie specifically because of who her daughter is? Savannah Guthrie is a journalist. She's interviewed presidents and world leaders. She's covered controversial stories. She has access and influence. What if this is about leverage? What if someone wants something from Savannah, or wants to send a message to NBC, or wants to influence coverage of a story? That theory gets even more disturbing when you consider the timing. This happened in early February. We're in the middle of a contentious political environment. President Trump has been making major moves, including that raid in Venezuela that captured President Maduro. Media coverage of the administration is intense and often critical. Trump himself has now weighed in on the Nancy Guthrie case, telling the New York Post that if Nancy Guthrie is not returned unharmed, he would instruct the Justice Department to seek the most severe federal penalties for the abductors. When asked if he meant the death penalty, Trump answered, "The most, yeah, that's true." Think about what that means. The President of the United States is personally involving himself in a missing person case, threatening death penalty charges against unknown suspects. On one level, it shows the seriousness with which the federal government is treating this. On another level, it raises questions about whether there's more to this case than we're being told. Does the president know something we don't? Does he have intelligence suggesting this is more than a random crime? The death penalty is authorized in Arizona for certain capital crimes. The state executed 2 inmates in 2025 and 3 others in 2022, but federal death penalty cases are rare and require extraordinary circumstances. For Trump to be talking about it at this stage suggests he believes this case falls into that category. Meanwhile, Savannah Guthrie is trying to hold it together in public while her mother remains missing. She posted a video on Instagram marking 2 weeks since her mother's disappearance. I wanted to come on, and it's been 2 weeks since our mom was taken, and I just wanted to come on and say that we still have hope, and we still believe, she said. Her voice is steady, but you can see the exhaustion in her eyes, the toll this is taking, and then she says something that stops you cold. And I wanted to say to whoever has her or knows where she is that it's never too late, and you are not lost or alone. It is never too late to do the right thing, and we are here. We believe, and we believe in the essential goodness of every human being. She's speaking directly to her mother's captor, appealing to their humanity, offering them a way out. That takes courage that most of us can't imagine, but it also reveals something about where this case stands. If they're making public appeals like this, it means they don't have better options. It means the investigation, despite all the resources, despite all the technology, despite all the expertise, has hit a wall. Fox News national correspondent Matt Finn got drone footage of Nancy Guthrie's home, the back patio, the rear door, the windows. He noted that there doesn't appear to be any visible damage to the back door or rear windows. The Pima County Sheriff's Department hasn't confirmed whether there was forced entry or how the suspect entered the home, but the lack of visible damage suggests either the suspect had a key, or Nancy Guthrie let them in, or they entered through an unlocked door or window. Each possibility raises different questions about premeditation and planning. Investigators are working with private companies, including Google, to uncover more surveillance footage. Think about that, Google. They're pulling data from Google, which means they're looking at location data, search histories, email records, anything that might give them a clue. The digital dragnet is enormous, but so far it hasn't produced the breakthrough they need. Sheriff Nanos said more law enforcement operations are expected in the coming days. He won't say what those operations are or where they'll be focused, but the fact that he's mentioning them suggests they have leads they're following. Maybe the DNA analysis will give them something. Maybe the surveillance footage review will catch a face or a license plate. Maybe someone who knows something will finally come forward for that $100,000 reward. But as the days turn into weeks, the statistics get grimmer. The first 48 hours in a missing person case are critical. After that, the chances of finding the person alive drop dramatically. We're past 2 weeks now. Every hour that passes makes it less likely that Nancy Guthrie will be found safe. Yet Savannah Guthrie says she still believes. Law enforcement says they're still investigating every lead. The reward keeps climbing. The FBI is running DNA through databases. Detectives are executing search warrants and conducting interviews. The machine of investigation keeps grinding forward. But where is Nancy Guthrie? That's the question that haunts this case. Not just where is she physically, but where is she in the spectrum of possible outcomes? Is she being held somewhere, scared but alive? Has she been moved multiple times to avoid detection? Is she injured? And the question nobody wants to ask, but everyone is thinking, is she still alive? The suspect in that doorbell footage knew what he was doing. The double gloves, the Walmart purchases, the timing, the execution. This wasn't an amateur. This was someone who had thought through contingencies, who understood how investigations work, who took steps to avoid detection. That level of planning suggests this isn't their first crime, which means somewhere in some database there might be a similar case, a similar method, a similar suspect description. Investigators are surely looking at pattern crimes. Have there been other home invasions in the area with similar characteristics? Other disappearances with similar methodology? Other cases involving elderly victims and sophisticated suspects? If this is part of a pattern, That gives them more data to work with, but it also means there's a predator out there who has done this before and might do it again. The community in Tucson is on edge. People are checking their doorbell cameras, installing additional security, locking doors that used to stay unlocked. Because if this could happen to Nancy Guthrie in her own home with security cameras running, then it could happen to anyone. The randomness of it, or the appearance of randomness, creates a fear that spreads beyond the immediate neighborhood. If we don't know why she was taken, we can't know who might be next. And that brings us back to the central mystery. Why Nancy Guthrie? What made her a target? Was it who she is, or who her daughter is, or where she lives, or simply bad luck? Until we answer that question, every other piece of the puzzle remains incomplete. The FBI is asking anyone with information to come forward. They've increased the reward to $100,000. That's a life-changing amount of money for most people. If someone knows something, if someone saw something, that reward might be enough to overcome their fear or their loyalty to whoever took Nancy Guthrie. But so far, the phone hasn't rung with the call that breaks the case wide open. So we wait, we watch, we hope, and we try to understand how, in an age of Ring doorbells and cell phone tracking and facial recognition and DNA databases, someone can still make a person disappear. The Nancy Guthrie case is a reminder that for all our technology, for all our investigative techniques, for all our resources, there are still people out there who can operate in the shadows, who can plan, who can execute, who can vanish. And the question that keeps me up at night, the question that should concern all of us, what does this person want? Because they took Nancy Guthrie for a reason. Whether that reason is money or revenge or leverage or something we can't even imagine, they have a goal. And until we know what that goal is, Nancy Guthrie remains in danger. Her family remains in agony. And the rest of us remain wondering if we're safe in our own homes. This is the Nancy Guthrie case. And it's far from over.